Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Puri and studies here. He has a research institute, sends out very eloquent newsletters every Ekadashi all over the world that are read by tens of thousands of people, and has absorbed the mood of Jagannath Puri very deeply. So we have long history with coming here and having Madhavananda Prabhu's and Krishna Kun's, his good wife, who's not here, she's in Europe right now, association. And thank you very much, Madhavananda Prabhu, for sparing a little time before you have to fly off to Europe. Please welcome Madhavananda Prabhu to the yashra.
There was an interesting meteorological report that I saw in the news a couple of days ago, that they saw some very strange weather just over this hotel. There were flowers coming down from the sky. I couldn't understand what, now I can see what's happening. So we'll just sing a few lines of a famous song that you all know in a raga called Kalavati, which is a name for Radha, and it's an Oriya rag. We do this in a little different arrangement. It's Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. We'll just sing the first couple of verses. But the different arrangement is that in between each set of lines, I sing by myself, Jai Vrindavan, Jai Vrindavan, and then everybody all together at the same time at once sings Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Jai Vrindavan. Twice we sing Jai. Some of you know, it's my thing that we do. I'm going to sing maybe a little Mangala Charna before then. Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Everyone all together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavan. Bolo, bolo. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan. Radhe, Hiya Krishna. Shri Govinda Gopinata Madana Mohan. Gopinata Madana Mohan. Shri Govinda Gopinata Madana Mohan. Then by myself, Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavan. Everyone all together, please. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Vrindavana, Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Shama Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Kalindi Jamuna Jaya, Jaya Mahavan, Jamuna Jaya, Jaya Mahavan, Kalindi Jamuna Jaya, Jaya Mahavan, Jamuna Jaya, Jaya Mahavan, Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavan. Bolo, bolo. Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Keep going. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Everyone all together, please. Bolo, bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, bolo, bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. One more time, a little louder, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Let's go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo, bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Let's go. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavana. Radhe Krishna, Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan, Govinda Gopinatha Madana Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan, Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan, Vrindavan. Now help me. Jaya Vrindavan, Bolo Bolo. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Shri Prem Data Nityananda Prabhu ki, Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki, Shri Madhurja Rasa Ganaiti Murti Mahabhav Prakash Jagannath Swami ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev, Shrimati Subhadra Mai Sudarshan Ju ki, Shri Radha Lalita Tota Gopinath Ju ki, Shivipralamba Ketra Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Samaveda Bhakta Binda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gauragraganya Gana Gotra Goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyata Kalpa Briksham Gopala Gadaratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachi Lajachi Ajileka Kola Kahe Premananda Hemona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gaurang Laha Gaurangirana Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nilachala Nivasaya Nichaya Paramatmane Bhalabhadra Subhadravyam Jagannataya Te Namaha Pare Brahma Pida Kuvalaya Dolot Fula Nayano Nibasi Niladro Nihita Chadano Nanta Sirasi Rasanandi Radha Sadasa Vapura Lingana Sukho Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. So please forgive me. It's hard for me to speak in front of Vishnugata Prabhu and Vaisheshika Prabhu and so many Gurujanis and all the wonderful devotees here who are also very, very special. Hare Krishna Mataji. In Sanatana Goswami's Krishna Lila Stava, he has an interesting verse. I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit. He says that He says that nama rupa, when someone, ashrita avishta, nama rupa ashrita avishta, when someone takes shelter, ashrita, of Krishna's name, someone takes shelter of Krishna's form in the deity or in these paintings, then something happens. They don't tell you this at the Sunday feast, but it's a little dangerous. Avishta, Krishna enters into that devotee. And especially Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he explains the importance of hearing. Because we have Navavidhi Bhakti, of which we say that Kirtanakya Bhakti, most important is Kirtan, but it begins with Shravan. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam. It begins first with hearing. And Jiva Goswami explains a very profound importance of that. Because he says in the beginning, it's kind of like khichdi. What is khichdi? Khichdi is just whatever you have in your refrigerator and you throw it in the pot, right? That's khichdi. So in the beginning, we may hear from many different devotees, many different persons, like many different temples. And it's very nice. We're hearing Srila Prabhupada's books. We're hearing from different devotees. And Bhagavatam 11.330 describes Parasparana Katanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasa Mito Rate Mitastustirnivrita Mita Atmana. That by coming together like that, something happens. It creates a sangha. And there's paraspara. Paraspara means back and forth. I didn't really understand that, what it meant, until I started attending some of the talks of Vaisheshika Prabhu. And he perfectly exemplifies that. And he creates a sangha like that. Because hearing is not static. It's not a passive thing, but hearing is ecstatic. It's something that we have to be moving. It's an active thing. And in that assembly of Vaishnavas, there's a speaker and a listener. And it's not that the speaker, especially in this case, is any better than the listeners, but both are rendering a service. And Jiva Goswami explains that in the beginning we may hear from many Vaishnavas, but after some time, there's one Vaishnav we're particularly attracted to. And he explains especially because of the mood of that devotee, because we're not just information collectors. It's not just that we're here because, he quotes more verses, he has more information like an encyclopedia. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta calls them the lexical, graphical devotees, dictionary kind of devotees. We're not like that, but we want to follow someone. We want to follow the mood of someone. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Sarta Darshini commentary, in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, he explains that the function of the disciple is to be anubhav of Guru, to follow Gurudev's mood. But if you go to Gurudev and you say, Gurudev, tell me your bhav, he may say, I don't have any bhav. If I want to understand what Lokaram Prabhu's bhav is, and I go and ask him, he said, I don't have any bhav. He may say. So Vishwanath explains that in the same way, if you go to a wealthy person and you ask him, wow, how much money do you have? They don't want to tell you. But if you watch that person, you look to see what kind of house they live in, how many houses they have, where are those houses at, how many cars do they have, what kind of cars are they, how many servants does he have, how do the servants dress? From all those external things, you can begin to understand something internal. So that's the function of a program like this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote 2 articles, one called Brajmandal Parikrama and another called Navadeep Mandala Parikrama. I remember coming and finding those articles many years ago in The Harmonist, and I thought, yes, now I'm going to get some really esoteric, higher things about the Dham and Parikrama. And I was very surprised to find that basically those 2 articles didn't say anything about Brajmandal Parikrama or Navadeep Mandal Parikrama, at least the places there. What Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed in both of those articles, he said that the purpose in going to those places is not, to use a more American expression, to get a T-shirt. I was on the Puri Yatra. The purpose is not to get a T-shirt. or to take photos and post them on Instagram and Facebook that I was there. Sometimes it's a paradoxical thing that we have so many devotees taking photos and video and things. And ironically, the devotee who's taking it, or ourselves, we're not really there. The camera's there, but we're not. We're with Facebook, we're with some other thing, thinking about that. And I'm going to post this, I'm going to get 1,000 likes on this. People are really going to appreciate this a lot. We're thinking like that, and paradoxically, we're not actually there. That's the irony of this camera age that we live in. So we want to be present. We want to collect something. And here in Jagannath Puri, I like to say it's something like Hiroshima in Japan. If you go to Hiroshima, even after so many years after they dropped a nuclear bomb there, there's still intense radiation. And so similarly in this place, although it's been 500 years since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, it's been so many years since Narottam Das Thakur was here, since so many wonderful exalted devotees were here, there's radiation in this place. There's divine radiation. And we want to come in touch with that. But how do we enter that? How do we attain that? Last year I remember standing here in front of all of you, not all of you, but some of you, and saying something I'd like to repeat a little bit today, that there are many millions of people who come to Puri every year. And these are special people. Because according to Shastra, just to be able to come to this Dham is such a rare thing. It takes thousands and maybe millions of lifetimes of pious activities to be able to come here at all. And the persons who are coming, maybe they're coming for a vacation. And they like to drink a little alcohol and have some non-vegetarian things. But they go for darshan of Jagannath. Everyone goes for darshan of Jagannath while they're here. They're special souls. Now, out of perhaps 100,000 of such special souls, maybe one is coming here with the intention that, let me achieve perfection. Let me get liberation. Maybe one. Now, out of perhaps 10,000 of such persons who are coming to this Dham, who are so very rare, coming here to get liberation, maybe you might have one who's coming here with the attitude that, I want bhakti. And I want to come here to do something so I can have more bhakti. But even out of 1,000 of those persons, the rarest of the rarest of the rarest of the rarest, maybe you'll find one person who's coming here not for the non-veg, I hope none of you are in that category, not for liberation, not even for making spiritual advancement, but they're coming to do Dham Seva. They're coming here to do service. I was speaking with Vaisheshika Prabhu about the yatra a few days ago in Mayapur, and he related an interesting anecdote with me. He said that the first year he was doing the yatra, one of the devotees came and complained to him, said, where's the room service? And Prabhu told me that it was kind of an epiphany for him at that. He realized we have to present this in a different way. It's not our purpose. So I see so many yatras since Kartik. I was here with Indradyumna Maharaj in Kartik time, and I can't even count now, maybe 10 or 12 different groups we've taken part with. But not to flatter all of you, just to be really honest, this is a very special group. And I very much appreciate, because the spirit of this yatra is that you're coming to do service. And we know from the Bhagavatam, Shushusho Shadadanasha Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Shamaha Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtana Sevana. I love devotees and they know verses. Thank you so much. That when we render service, then we get some kata ruchi. Then something happens, doors open, and we're able to enter into deeper aspects of that place. Whereas if we just come as a tourist, even a spiritual tourist, even a spiritual tourist thinking, yeah, this is a great place. I'm going to make a lot of advancement, man. I want to go on all the programs. I'm going to really, excuse my language, I'm going to beef up, Hare Krishna, my bhakti. I don't know if you can do that. I'm going to increase my bhakti in this way. That's a wonderful motivation. It's very, very extremely rare. But those devotees who come here wanting to please Srila Prabhupada, wanting to render service, that's so special. Recently, I gave a series of talks here in Puri, which we called the Gambhira Bhajan Pranali. Well, that sounds really kind of high and very esoteric, isn't it? And indeed, we spoke a lot about Raganuga Bhakti. And we spoke a lot about higher things. But actually, it was a very simple discussion in many ways. We presented the bhajan of Sri Rupa Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda in the Gambhira. And what kind of bhajan are they doing? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comments in one place that whenever someone is doing bhajan, they want something. In the Lalita Madhav of Srila Rupa Goswami, he describes an amazing story how there was a garden in Dwarka called Nava Vrindavan. And Krishna used to go there. He would tell his wife, Rukmini, that, yeah, I got to go to the office, kill some demons, save some devotees. I'll be back this afternoon. And secretly, he would go to that Nava Vrindavan garden and just cry and feel separation from Radharani and the gopis. Now, and it's a long, complicated story, but one day, Srimati Radharani happened to be in that garden. And she was going along, and Krishna heard someone coming. Every day, Radharani was in that garden, and she was worshiping a deity of Krishna. And Krishna, along with his bosom friend, Madhavananda, came one day to that deity, and he said, hey, look at this. It's a deity of me. Someone's worshiping this deity with great love. And Madhavananda says, how do you know? And he says, you see the tilak, how smeared it is? Someone was crying when they put this tilak on, and their tears washed away most of the tilak. And he said, hey, hear that? Someone's coming. So they took the deity. Krishna said, let's play a little trick. And Krishna took the deity and put it in the bushes. And Madhavananda was there. And then Krishna stood there like he was a deity. And Srimati Radharani came to that place, and she said, wow, Vishwakarma made such an amazing deity. It looks just like Krishna, like he's alive. And then Krishna, she started praying, my dear deity of Krishna, please, would you come to life? Would you be with me? So even Srimati Radharani, when she's worshiping Krishna, she has some motivation, some desire. And actually that desire is very important. Because if we don't have any desire, if we're just, Prabhu, it's cool, I'm equal to everybody, I'm friends with everybody, I like everybody, that means you're a monist, you're an impersonalist. We have our groups, even Radharani has her groups of Sakhis, Lalita has her groups of Sakhis. We have our special Sangha. And that's a natural thing that we want to enter with that group of devotees. So we want to understand a mood. And I understand one thing, that all of you are coming here because you want to capture something from someone. You're following someone who's very wealthy, and you're hoping, I know all of you, you're actually thieves. You're hoping you can steal something from Vaisheshika Prabhu. You can steal some of his bhav away, some of his feelings when he's here. Am I right? Yes. Vaisheshika, be careful. You're surrounded by thieves. That's your desire in coming here. That's your inspiration. And that's a natural and wonderful thing. It's a natural aspect of bhakti because you can't legislate faith. You can't legislate inspiration. You can't say, Prabhu, you're supposed to have faith in this person. You must take initiation from this person. We took a vote on it. You can't legislate that. And if we try, then it takes away the spirit, the independent spirit of bhakti. So such a wonderful thing to be in such a sangha like this. I'd like to speak to you a little something about a project that I have, because I'm an ISKCON devotee, and ISKCON devotees talk about projects, right? That's what you're supposed to do. So we have a project called Gora. And some of you know something about that. We just recently we launched our website and digital library in Mayapur. Vaisheshika Prabhu was there, and Chandramoli Maharaj, and Nuttama Prabhu, and some others. Gora is an acronym. My wife came up with the name. It's the most brilliant acronym I've ever heard in my life. It stands for the Gaudiya Odia Research Association. Now, the spelling, G-O-R-A, is bona fide. It's used sometimes by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You would give a long A at the end. And it's a name for Mahaprabhu. It's a common name in many of the Padavali Kirtans and Bhaktivinoda songs also. He says Gora. But Gora and G-O-R-A and G-A-U-R-A, they mean the same, but there's a little difference. The word Gora, G-O-R-A, is what we call in Sanskrit a samas, which means a compound word. Two words together. Go-ra. It means that person who's a combined form of Govinda, Radha. That's Gora. And that's our research institute. We've been having some success recently. We've been doing some programs in Bhubaneswar IIT, one of the most prestigious schools in India. We recently gave a talk at the Puri Sanskrit College University, and it was on the front page of two of the major newspapers, most major newspapers in Orissa, and the professors there, somehow they just loved us. And we've been meeting with different scholars, leading scholars and professors and things in Puri to speak with them about things. And so I've been meditating a lot on what we want to accomplish. Because when you begin a journey, whether that journey is a drive from San Jose to Washington, D.C., or whether that journey is coming to the Dham, to Puri for parikrama, or whether that journey is a journey of your individual bhajan, we have to see what is our gati, what is our goal, what is the place we're going to. Otherwise, if you drive from San Jose to Washington, D.C., and you think, anyway, Prabhu, it's all one, and I don't need a map, I'm going to go west. You'll get a little wet, and you're not going to reach your goal. We have to have firmly in front of us a goal. So I've been thinking a lot about this thing. We want to do a research institute. We've been collecting old rare books. We want to preserve them. We want to translate them. We want to print them. We want to meet with different scholars and mahants and be able to make friends and be able to inject something of Srila Prabhupada's mission into places which normally wouldn't be accessible for ISKCON devotees. But thinking more and more about it, I realized really that's not my purpose either. And it's very important to have a very clear purpose. Our purpose, Gaudiya Odia. I wanted to have a samas of Govinda Radha. And we want to speak about the understanding of Jagannath Puri from the eyes of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And that's a very amazing thing. In one Nectar Devotion lecture in 1972 in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada commented that there's two considerations, which he called Smarta Vichar and Goswami Vichar. The Smarta Vichar is basically largely on the basis of the body. And they judge someone by their birth, by their nationality, by their gender, and they discriminate against them on the basis of that birth. That's Smarta Vichar. But they're not really very smart. They're Smarta Vichar, but it's not such a good consideration. We want to follow Goswami Vichar. Goswami Vichar means that the consideration of our 6 Goswamis, the Acharyas following them, Sato Brite, Srila Rupa Goswami says in Upadeshamrita that one of the 6 symptoms favorable to bhakti is that we should follow in the footsteps of our previous acharyas. And we hear in the Beta Kirtan pastimes, I think that's chapter 12 of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Maharaj Prataparudra was on the roof of his palace along with his advisor, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma was introducing him, pointing out to him, the different associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the kirtan below. And Maharaj Prataparudra was having a hard time getting his head around it. First of all, he said, okay, they're chanting Hare Krishna mantra. We got that. We've been doing that here in Orissa for a long time. He said, but this kirtan, this is not like any kirtan I've ever seen before. Because kirtan is anubhav. Bhakti is anubhav. We should be following in the footsteps of someone. Huh? And he said, this kirtan is just amazing. And then he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a great knower of Veda Vedanta, what are these guys doing? They're not following the proper vidhi, the proper rules. Everybody knows. When you come to Puri, you shave your head. You go take bath in the ocean. You take bath in Sweta Ganga, in Narendra Sarovar. You take bath in 5 different tanks in Puri. You fast. And then you go to have darshan of Jagannath. But what are these guys doing? They're not shaving their head. They're not taking bath. They're not fasting. And they're not going to have darshan of Jagannath. They're all running to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they're taking prasadam before they've even taken bath or anything from his hands. That's Goswami Vichar. And we should deeply understand this. Because otherwise it can be confusing, especially in a place like this. We have in our library, we have over 4,000 different books and many Sanskrit, Odia, Bengali books. We have, I think, 5 different editions of the Padma Purana. And the Padma Purana and the Skanda Purana and other Puranas, the Brahma Purana, describe many things about Jagannath Puri. Now you may think, this is a Purana. This is important literature, Vedic literature, so this gives me the proper information. But then you read that and you might become a little confused because the presentation there is primarily Smarta Vichar. To give you another example, I think it's in chapter 14 or 15 of Hari Bhakti Vilas, Srila Sanatana Goswami speaks about Janmashtami. And he begins his discussion by stating that there's 3 different motivations for observing the festival of Janmashtami. One is for bhakti. You're doing it because you want to please the Lord or because you want to advance in bhakti. The second is bhaya, out of fear. And the third is asha, out of some hope to get something. So then Sanatana Goswami gives one verse about how wonderful Janmashtami observance is for your bhakti. And then he gives something like 100 or 200 verses speaking about fear and how if you have a dream on Janmashtami that you're drinking water, you will see the Yamadutas. You will burn in hell. It's really, really big. He gives all these verses about how fearful you should be to follow all the principles therein. And then he has another 100 or 200 verses after that about Asha. And if you follow Janmashtami, you'll get a beautiful wife. You'll get a nice husband. You'll get good children. You'll get lots of money. You can become Indra. All kinds of wonderful benedictions like that. And only one verse about bhakti. So it requires some discrimination. And you may wonder at this point, why in the world does Sanatana Goswami present such a confusing discussion, or why the Puranas present such a confusing discussion? According to the person's consciousness, they'll be attracted to a certain thing. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami quotes the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Yavat papais tumalinam hridayam tavadeva hina shastra satyabudhi shat sabudhi sadguru tata. He raises an even bigger question in the same vein of mood, that why is it that some people are attracted by bogus gurus? Why is it some people are attracted by bogus philosophies and they don't have good intelligence? Yavat papas to malinam, hridayam. That malinam hridayam, because their heart is contaminated with sinful desires. And because they have those sinful desires, they can't see properly. In a similar way, we know from different discussions in the Bhagavatam that worse than that is if you have done offenses, then you won't be attracted by bona fide philosophy, bona fide personalities. You'll be attracted by something mundane. And Srila Jiva Goswami explains that in that situation, you'll be more attached to your body. And you'll think of everything in terms of bodily considerations, which is smarta vichar, not Goswami vichar. You won't see things in a paramartic way. You'll see things in a lokik, in a common way. And you'll quote so many shastras. It says here in Skanda Purana, we should do like this and this. So it's so confusing. It's like being in a game show and you have 5 different doors, and which door do I open anyway? I don't know. So we have to have divine guidance. And we want to follow someone whose mood we trust, someone whose mood we have some appreciation for, who has some ruchi. And then they'll tell us behind door number 1. Oh, and we find there's a great treasure there. So we want to follow this Goswami vichar. Now, speaking this thing about our Gora project, we were requested recently to speak at a really amazing symposium in IIT University in Bhubaneswar. And it was Garuda Prabhu was there. A number of different international people came from the States and Europe, and some very top scholars from around the world. And I was supposed to present something, and I thought, what am I going to speak about? And I didn't want to speak about our project is like this. We have this many books. We want some money from all you guys to get more Almiras. We want this. And I didn't want to talk about a project, but I wanted to just speak about what we're doing. And so I thought I'd share a little of that with you today, because when I presented that, some of the devotees I was with were a little shocked what I spoke about. I spoke about Radharani. And actually, a lot of those students there, pretty much everybody, knew something about Radharani. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada, thanks to so many different Vaishnavas in India today, many people know something about Radharani. So, trying to think how to go. A question comes for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, in his Swaniyama Dasakam, he speaks about the importance of Srimati Radharani. And he says, beautiful verses. Anadhrutod gitam api muniganai vainika mukhai pravinam gandharvam api chanigamaistat priyatamam ya ekam govindam bhajati kapati dambikataya tad abhyarne sunekshanam api nayami bratam idam. He says that not even for 1 minute am I going to go near a hypocrite who worships only Krishna but does not worship Radharani. That's my vow. And then a verse or two later he says, Sada Radha Krishna Chaladatu Lakela Stala Yugam Brajam Sanchaidyata Yuga Virahitopi Trutimapi Punadwara Vatyam Yadupatim Api Proda Vibhavai Sparantam Tadvacha Pi Chanahi Chalam Ikshiktam Api. He says, even if I'm feeling so much separation from the divine couple, from Radha and Krishna, I won't, even for 1 moment, leave grudge. Even if I hear someone comes and says, hey, you just got an email, Prabhu. Krishna wrote you from Dwarka. He wants you to come to Dwarka. Raghunath Das Goswami says, forget it. I'm not going there. If Radharani's not there, I don't want to go there. Gaton madai radha spurati harina slista hridaya sputam dvara vatyam iti yadi srinomi shruti tate tadaham chacho vadata matipatami brajapurat samudiya swanta dika gatika dindrad apijavat. But if I hear that Radharani, she became mad or something happened, I don't know why, but she went to Dwarka. Even with no invitation, I'm going to run there as fast as I can. So this is the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So then the question comes, as we would say in Bengali, Kotai Radha. Where's Radha? Huh? If this place is so important, is so significant to the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why in the world would anyone want to go to a place where Radharani is not present? And Raghunath Das Goswami stayed here. He did his bhajan here. Some Vaishnavas, they say that just as if you were a prisoner of war in Vietnam and they tortured you, and after some years you were released and you went back home, that torture that you went through will affect you for the rest of your life. You'll never forget what happened to you. So in a similar way, Raghunath Das Goswami, how can he forget what he saw in the Gambhira? Mahaprabhu rubbing his face on the wall and blood coming, his hands and legs shrinking inside of his body so he became like a giant turtle. His arms and legs becoming elongated, water shooting out from his eyes like water from a syringe. And Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, he says that no Shastra has described these ecstasies. Nobody's ever heard of these kind of ecstasies. Many times I ask devotees, how many stones did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu melt in Navadvip? We don't know of any. How many in Vrindavan? We don't know of any. But here in Puri, we know of 5. I could describe that if you'd like. We know of 5 stones that he melted. And Kaviraj Goswami says that the ecstasies that he experienced here were off the charts. We've never heard of anything like that anywhere before. So, why? And there's no Radha. He's going on the altar. There's Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Where's Radha? So we spoke something about this. Remember, I'm speaking about this IIT presentation that we did to the students about Radharani. And I said to them that Radha worship is very famous now. And especially, it's very important to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But if you look in historical perspective, you study the different biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and of course, in the Adi Lila chapter 1, and especially Adi 1 and chapter 4, Kaviraj Goswami speaks about Radha Bhava Duti Sivali Tam Nomi Krishna Swarupam, how Krishna is in the mood of Radha. That's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so many verses presenting the importance of Radha. But I'm speaking not in a philosophical way, but in historical perspective. And in Navadvip and Mayapur, there was no Radha Katha. Once or twice we hear in some literatures Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha, but then other times he's in the mood of Dhruva Maharaj, or in the mood of Lord Shiva, or this person, that Balaram, different personalities. So where does that begin? And if we study from an historical perspective, and this is what we want to try to do from both an historical scholarly perspective and from a devotional perspective, we want to show how the two agree. It wasn't until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this place, which is known as Sri Kshetra. What is the meaning of Sri and Sri Kshetra? Sarva Lakshmi Mai Angsini Radha. Sri is a name for Lakshmi, but especially it's a name for Radharani. And for the followers, my Guru Maharaj's comments, for the followers of Madhurya Ras, they see the Sri Kshetra as the place of Radha. That's an interesting thing. I've heard from different scholars, and one of our teachers, Professor Fakir Mohan Prabhu, that the Odia literatures, the first description of Radha was found in Odia literature, long before any literatures in Braj or West Bengal. There was discussions here. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here, he went right away to Jagannath. He fell down on the ground in ecstasy. If you go close to Jagannath, you'll see there's a handprint that he melted on the stone in front of the deity. He melted his footprints near the Garuda Stamba, which they later moved. He melted 3 fingerprints in the doorway next to the Garuda Stamba. And he melted his body print at Alanath, and he melted a Govardhan Shila. That's 5. 5 different stones that he melted here in Puri. So he fell unconscious in front of Jagannath. And they took him to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and that's a whole long discussion there, which I think all of you are more or less familiar with. Later, Sarvabhauma, when he became a Vaishnav, interesting discussion because Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat says he was already a Vaishnav before Mahaprabhu came there, whereas Kaviraj Goswami says he was a Mayavadi. That's another interesting discussion, but I won't go there. But Mahaprabhu was speaking with Sarvabhauma, and Sarvabhauma says, now I got it. Now I can appreciate you something. He said, you have to meet Ramananda Roy on the bank of the Godavari. Well, that's Madhya Leela Chami. There are 4 most intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now some of you may say, Prabhu, that's not correct. It's 3.5. It's 4. But one of them is considered half an associate. Why is that? She was not a paraplegic. She had legs. Those personalities were Ramananda Roy, Srup Damodar Goswami, Sikhi Mahiti, and Madhavi Devi. 3 of those 4 were all born in the same village, Bentapur, right near to Alarnath. And Sikhi Mahiti and Madhavi Devi were brother and sister. We know very little, practically nothing about Sikhi Mahiti. The Chaitanya Charit Mahakavi ascribed to Kavi Karnapur gives one beautiful story about him, but aside from that, we practically know nothing. Madhavi Devi also we know very little, although her deities of Radha Gopinath are there, and her samadhi is there, but she also wrote some songs. And from the songs, we understand something about her mood. So these 4 persons, I said that some people question, why is Madhavi Devi considered half? And some people say, well, Prabhu, because she's a woman, and women are less. Now, I have a problem with that, partly because, not to offend Roy Ram Prabhu or any of the saffron wallas here today, but I'm not a brahmachari, I'm a mamachari. I freely confess. I'm very attached to my mother. And I don't really appreciate it when people don't appreciate mothers. And especially because actually Gaudiya Vaishnavas, I'm sorry to say, but Gaudiya Vaishnavas are feminists. Because our supreme deity is Radharani. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta even said in one place, the only reason we worship Krishna is because Radharani likes him. So Radharani is supreme for us. So then I feel very uncomfortable with that, to say that she's half just because she's born in the body of a woman. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is famous as Sachinandan, the son of Mother Sachi. And he's worshiping the gopis and worshiping Radharani. Now, how are you going to come and tell me that women are something less? It just doesn't settle well in my stomach. But to me, there's a very obvious, and I can't say there's a Shastra Pramana for this. Well, actually, there are some. I'll come to that without quoting a Shastra, but I'll point in a direction. It's a simple matter of logic. The Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi. And as a sannyasi, he couldn't associate intimately with a woman. Madhavi Devi's in the body of a woman, so they couldn't associate intimately. And there's many verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita describing that Mahaprabhu didn't associate closely with any women. That was his nature. So I suggested to those students that there's a bigger question than just why is Madhavi Devi considered half. The bigger question is, why these 4 personalities at all? Why not Nityananda Prabhu? Why not Gadadhar Pandit? Why not so many other personalities in Navadvip, Sachimata, or other devotees? Why these 4 persons are so significant that Kaviraj Goswami says they're the most intimate associates of Mahaprabhu? Reading some secular scholars who studied Oriya history and Gaudiya Vaishnavism, I came across one concept which I like very much, and I'm trying to pursue that and develop that. And that is because it was from those 4 personalities that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first heard about Radharani. It was from Srup Damodar Goswami in Madhya Leela chapter 8 in the Ramananda Samvad that he speaks all about Radharani. That's the first conversation that Mahaprabhu's really got it. And according to the Mahant at the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, who came to our library a few years ago, he told us that according to the local tradition in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, when Roy Ramananda returned from South India, he came with Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu came with him, and they stayed at Jagannath Vallabha Gardens for some time. And they had conversations there. Those conversations became a book called Jagannath Vallabha Natakam. For those of you who know something about Gaudiya literature. It's a book written by Ramananda Roy, all about Vrindavan and about Radharani. That was a product of their discussions. And we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita that Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda in the Gambhira, they were singing songs by Vidyapati and Chandidas, Bilvamangala Thakur, Jayadev Goswami, all things about Radharani, things which incidentally, generally we don't read. And sometimes devotees say, man, we should. Mahaprabhu was hearing that. We have books of all four of those personalities in our library. I don't really relate to them very much because those are books which describe the intimate mood of Radharani. Those are like the textbooks that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was studying in that university called the Gambhira from his professors, Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who were teaching him what it means, what Radha Bhav means. Those are his textbooks that he was reading. So I'm not on that level to read those books, but I should know something about it. And there in that place, in the Gambhira, Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda were doing an amazing bhajan. They were not going and doing bhajan because they wanted a wife or they wanted some money. They were not doing bhajan because they wanted to get liberation. They were not doing bhajan to make spiritual advancement. Their bhajan was for the pleasure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so we were speaking, going back to a comment I made earlier a few weeks ago about this Gambhira Bhajan Pranali and how this is the kirtan of our sampradaya. That we're doing this kirtan not for my pleasure, not for my benefit. And it sounds really, really high, Prabhu. I don't know. That's a really abstract thing. But it's a practical thing. We see in the devotees of Srila Prabhupada, some of the older devotees here, you're going out on the streets, and Prabhupada was present for 8, 12 hours a day, doing Harinam, doing book distribution. And why? Maybe a few devotees were thinking, I'll get liberation by doing this. Or maybe someone was thinking, I'll make spiritual advancement by doing this. But the devotees were just thinking, if Prabhupada reads my score, if I can make Prabhupada smile, then everything is perfect. And Prabhupada, sometimes we read how he would go to Hollywood sometimes, and he would drive down the street, and the devotees are doing Harinam there, and Prabhupada would slow the car down. Prabhupada would look at all the devotees and get so much pleasure. That's a Gambhira Bhajan Pranali. It's the same thing. Although we're not quite on the level of Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, but it's something for us. It's the kirtan of our sampradaya. In that kirtan, it's Radha Kirtan. But what is Radha Kirtan? If you someday are so fortunate, due to the association and the Sangha perhaps, that you're able to go to Braj and you enter into the Kunjas and you go to Srimati Radharani, what are you going to say? Maybe you'll go there and start chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. What will Radharani do? She may look at you and say, stop that. Don't make that noise. Chant Krishna, Krishna. She gets pleasure from that. And it's a very esoteric thing, but ultimately it's something which is very practical and inherent in our practice and inherent in our lives. That kirtan's going on with us. When Radharani is feeling separation from Krishna, our acharyas describe, she's become unmadana, she's become mad, there's dasa, there's 10 different symptoms of that madness. Prajalpa, she begins to speak in a crazy kind of way. She has a fever, she becomes dirty, she doesn't eat. And the very last and final is called mrityu, or death. My Guru Maharaj once gave a lecture, he said, the bhajan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a desire for death. Probably not a good subject for a Sunday feast lecture. but his desire was the same desire as Radharani. Radharani couldn't tolerate living without Krishna. In this world, perhaps one of the most famous literatures is Romeo and Juliet. Right? So if Romeo can't live without Juliet and vice versa, because that's real love, I can't live without my beloved, then what to speak of Radha and Krishna? So in that situation, at that time, when Radharani is feeling a most intense separation from Krishna, and she's in a dying condition, at that time, her pranasakis, her intimate gopis, come and they start doing kirtan. And what kind of kirtan do they do? They chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Radharani is feeling such intense feelings. Now Krishna, he's kind of a transcendental businessman. He promises in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yaya tamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyam. However someone approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. But then we hear, I think it's chapter 31, the 10th canto, where Krishna tells the gopis, Napariyeham niravadya samyujam sasadu kritam vibudaya sapiva. I can't repay my debt to you because you don't want anything. Everybody else wants something. She's doing bhajam. She wants a shiny red bicycle, right? I really would. If I could just have a bicycle, it would be really nice. Someone else wants a girlfriend or a husband or money or this. And Krishna says, yes, yes, I'll reciprocate. But the gopis, all the gopis want is to please Krishna. So when you have a debt, how do you repay that debt? If I borrow from one of you, from Lokaram Prabhu, he's a really nice guy. If I borrow $10,000 from him, he's a wealthy guy. I borrow $10,000 from Lokaram Prabhu, and I say, I'll pay you back in 1 week. And he comes after 8 days and says, Prabhu, I really need the money. My wife's getting upset with me. And I say, Lokaram Prabhu, I'm really sorry, but I lost all the money. Please forgive me. He may forgive me, but he's not very happy. And I may say, but anyway, here, I don't have $10,000, but here's 10,000 rupees. Is that the same? No. But it's the same number, but it's not the same. So according to the debt that you have to pay in like currency. And this is a debt of love. It's not a debt of knowledge. It's not a debt of creation. It's a debt of love. So Krishna, I don't have that much money. I don't have that. Well, because just as Krishna is asamurdva, no one's equal to him. No one is greater than him. Similarly also, Srimati Radharani is asamurdva. No one is equal to or greater than her in terms of being the priti ashray, or the abode of love for Krishna. So to get that wealth, Srila Rupa Goswami says in Dvitiya Chaitanashtakam, which Sanskrit I'm forgetting. He says he says that Krishna entered into the heart of Radharani and stole that love, because Radharani, she's not going to give it to him. If Krishna comes and says, "Give me your bhav," as we were discussing earlier, Radharani, I don't have any bhav. So Krishna has to get that because he has to repay his debt. So to get that bhav, then, he has to go to university. He has to learn something about the love of Radha. And to do that, he has to leave Navadvip. He has to leave Sachimata and Vishnupriya and all the wonderful devotees there and come to Puri, where he can taste Radha Bhav. And he does that with Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. So we, in our IIT presentation, we also sang a song, there are many Oriya devotees there, by Madhavi Devi. I won't go in that direction right now. But Madhavi Devi sings a beautiful song about Radharani and Jagannath. She speaks about the, I don't have it with me, the Gita Govinda Kandua. Every evening, Lord Jagannath wears a dress called Bada Shringara Besh, or the great dress of Shringara Ras. And at that time, they say that Radharani and the gopis come to have his darshan. For those of you who are Deshi devotees, you should go in the evening about 8 or 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock, and have that darshan, that Bada Shringara Besh darshan is the best. And at that time, Madhavi Devi describes, and it's practically going on to this day, actually there's a lady named Nalini Patnaik. We interviewed her. Her service for Lord Jagannath is rather unique. She collects tulsi leaves, big tulsi leaves, and she grinds sandalwood paste. She takes a toothpick and she writes on the tulsi leaves, Radha, Radha, Radha. And every night during Bada Shringara Besh, they stick those leaves on Jagannath's heart. And Madhavi Devi speaks about that in her song. She's speaking about how Radharani is so beloved of Lord Jagannath. So, again, that supports our conception that this is why these four persons was so important, so significant, because it was from them that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first got this conception of Radha. We did some research some years ago in one of our magazines. We called it The Hidden Identity of Lord Jagannath. And on the cover is kind of a paradoxical thing. There's a photo of Lord Jagannath surrounded by at least 1,100,000 devotees the time of Rath Yatra, and we call it The Hidden Identity of Lord Jagannath. He doesn't look very hidden to me. He's there with so many personalities, but there's a hidden identity. And this, for me, is what's so special about our research institute, and what I want to see Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the followers of Srila Prabhupada especially do, is to understand the treasure in our sampradaya, understand the vision that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has of Lord Jagannath, to consider Goswami Vichar and not Smarta Vichar. Not just see things according to Vanashram, which is a bona fide consideration, or seeing things by the body, but seeing things according to our Gaudiya Siddhanta. It's very, very important that devotees come together and share these things with others. So in that article, we spoke something about how it is that Mahaprabhu is coming here. If he's coming here, it's said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Sri Radheya pranaya mahima kiddiso vanayaiva swadyo yanabhuta madhuri makiddiso vamadiya sokyam chashamananabhava de kiddisam veti loba tabhava jan sabhajani sachigarba sindhu harindu. Kind of botched the last line. So, 3 desires that Krishna has. What is the love of Radha? What does she see in me anyway? And what kind of ecstasy does she get? So kim chashamananabhavata. Does she get by loving me? Those 3 reasons, that 6th verse of the Adi-lila chapter 1 describes the inner reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Okay. But now Kaviraj Goswami says that those 3 desires were only fulfilled in Jagannath Puri. How is it they're fulfilled in this place if there's no Radha? But understand, this is Sri Kshetra, the place of Sarva, Lakshmi Mai, Angsini, Radhika, the place of Radharani. And there's so many different pramanas we found for that. In the Garga Samhita, there's a description about how Bhumi Devi was having a big headache one day, earth goddess, because Sishupal and Dantavakra and all these different demons were causing big problems. So she went to Lord Brahma to complain, and Lord Brahma said, yeah, that's really bad. Let's go to Lord Vishnu. They went and submitted a complaint to Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu said, yeah, that's really bad. Let me go to my boss. Who's your boss? And they went to Goloka Vrindavan, and they came to Krishna. And they said, we got this big problem. You got to come. And Krishna said, Tatastu, so be it, I'm on my way. And Radharani was sitting next to him, and she didn't say anything. She's kind of looking down. And Krishna said, hey, Pranavallabha, what's wrong? You look unhappy. And Radharani says, anyway, you're Swarat, you're independent, you'll do whatever you want. If you want to go, what can I say? But I have to tell you, if you leave me here, I'm going to die. Krishna said, no, you're coming with me. And then Radharani said, no, that's not good either. And she spoke this verse. Yatra Vrindavanam nasti, yatra no Govardhan nasti, yatra no Jamuna nadi, tatra me namana suk. I have no manasuk, where these 3 things are not found. The Vrindavan forest, Govardhan hill, and the Jamuna river. I have no happiness. So understanding that principle, that's the mood of Radha, that's her happiness. Then why does Mahaprabhu come here to this place? And why is it here that he's able to fulfill his 3 desires? And why is it here that he gets Radha Bhav, he tastes Radharani's Bhav, and when there's no deity of Radha with Lord Jagannath? Or is there no deity of Radha there? And we wrote something about this. During about every 12 years or so, it differs according to the lunar calculation. There's a festival or ceremony in Puri called the Navakalavram, which they change the body of Lord Jagannath. And we wrote something about that, some of our previous magazines. It's quite a complicated thing. Before I come to that, let me say another thing. We may say Radharani's not here, but is it a fact? We were just quoting a verse from the Jagannath Ashtakam in our Mangalacharana, and some of you know that verse. What is that verse? Pare Brahma Pida Kuvalaya Dolot Fulanayano Nibasi Niladro Nihita Chadano Nanta Sidasi Rasanandi Radha Sadasavapara Lingana Sukho Jagannatha Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatume. The verse describes that Lord Jagannath is always feeling intense ecstasy, embracing Srimati Radharani to his chest. Anybody here has been or is at this time a pujari of Lord Jagannath? Raise your hand, please. I was for quite some time. No other pujari? A few. Okay. My service in Bhubaneswar, also in Los Angeles, was bathing and dressing Lord Jagannath every day, putting him to rest at night, and many, many times. It's a sweet service because at night you have to put your arms around him to untie the thing in the back. And we would see him without his dress, and I didn't see any Radharani stuck on his chest. But the verse says, Rasanandi Radha Sadasavapur Alingana Sukho, that Radharani, that Jagannath is always embracing Radharani. So what does it mean? Now going back to Navakalavram, I jumped ahead a little bit. During Navakalavram, it's a long, amazing, amazing process. The Daityapatis, the descendants of Vishvavasu, the pig farmer, who originally was worshipping Nilamadhav, there's a ceremony, and they go in the temple, and that Gita Govinda Kandu I was telling you about, there's a cloth they offer to Lord Jagannath. It has different verses written on it from the Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami. They give that kandua to each one of the different, they give a prasadam kandua to each one of the different Daityapatis who are going on a search party. And they go out and they're looking for a tree. The tree is going to become Jagannath. And that tree has to have 4 branches. If it has 2, 3, 5, 10, they can't accept it. It has to have 4 branches. It has to have an anthill next to it. It has to have a lake next to it. It has to have a smasanam, a crematorium near it. It has to have a hill near it. It has to have a cobra living at the base. Has to be a Shiva temple nearby. There has to be several rare trees growing next to it. And there has to be 4 symbols that you can naturally see coming in the tree. The Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. The symbols of Lord Vishnu. And if all those things are not there, they won't accept that as the daru for Lord Jagannath. It's a long, complicated thing. That's a very skinny version. So then they come and they chant some prayers. And they take a gold axe. It's about as big as a toothpick. We printed some photos of it. And they touch it to the tree. Then they have a silver axe, also toothpick size, which they touch to the tree. And then they get some guy who's a descendant of Vishvakarma, they say, with an iron axe. And he does the hard work. And he cuts the tree down. Then they strip off the bark. Then they do an abhishek. They chant Purusha Shukta. And then they do Sadanga Nyasa. Now, for those of you who may know some Gaudiya Siddhanta, Nyasa is where you establish the deity in the body. And if you're performing prana pratishta or a deity installation ceremony, the Sadanga Nyasa is that ceremony where you establish the deity on the different limbs of the body of that personality. You may walk past Lloyd Bazaar in Vrindavan, and there's so many deities in the shops, but you don't offer obeisances to them. If you want to install them according to Pancharatrika Vidi, according to Goswami Vidi, we begin with this Sadanganyasa. You establish who they are. It's like giving them an identity. You are Krishna. You are this or that. So we managed to find out the Nyasa mantra that they offer at that time to Lord Jagannath, which is his inner identity. We found that mantra. I'll repeat this to you. Smirasham kunkumabam spuradadara patapranta kliptavangutam ramyam vesena veni krita chikura shikalambi padmam kishorim Tarjangusta Yukta Harimuka Kamale Yunjatim Nagavali Parnam Kanayatakshim Tribhuvana Ruchiram Radhikam Bhavayami. The mantra that they use to worship Jagannath in the form of that Daru, telling him who you are, is a Radha mantra. And we found something else very interesting. Very few people know, even amongst the Pandits, this mantra that I just gave to you. You don't have to chant it every day, but this mantra we just repeated to you. Even most of the Pandits don't know this mantra. But we managed to find something else. Aside from the deities of Jagannath, Bali, Subhadra, Shri and Bhu, on the altar with Lord Jagannath, there's another interesting deity which they call the Shayana Vigraha. I think a lot of Hare Krishna devotees would relate to that deity. It's the deity who sleeps. Shayana Vigraha. That's his only business. Now that Shayana Vigraha deity is also known as Ardha Nadi Ishvara or Ardha Lakshmi Hari. The deity is an amazing deity. It's like we have Harihara. If you go to Tota Gopinath, there's a temple nearby, kind of under the ground, of Jambeshwar Mahadev, Yamaraj Ishvara. That deity is Harihara. He's half Vishnu and half Shiva. Lingaraj and Bhuvaneshwar is also Harihara. And you'll see in both temples there's a Trishula and a chakra on top. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Do we need to finish now? Or quickly?
This evening. So so we had to leave in the next few minutes.
No problem.
But
I don't
so
want to cause any troubles. I don't want to get in trouble. So, should I finish in 2 or 3 minutes, or
not
if
everyone.
if devotees need to
only
go,
those who have given your names for Shadamat. Maybe you can announce. We'll just make an announcement.
Sure,
and you
sure.
can take the questions.
Yeah, so just wanted to let you know that those of you who are planning to go to Jagannath Temple as a group, you would have already received a WhatsApp message from me. So if you can just go and assemble at the reception. We're going to move and leave for the temple at 6 p.m. today. Okay? Yeah, okay. And then I think some of you already booked trips to Sakshi Gopal. Yeah, so you may also leave, yeah. And then rest can continue here. And I just wanted to make a few. Is it okay if I make a few announcements? And yeah.
You're going for darshan at Sakshi Gopal already, or coming up? Coming up. Some are going. Okay.
Madhavananda Prabhu, it's my fault. I told you 2 hours when I first wrote to you, 4:30 to 6:30. Then the schedule changed, and I told you the 4:15, but I didn't tell you 1.5 hours. So that now I'd like to know how many devotees are just staying or how many are ready to go. Is everybody planning to go to Sakshi Gopal, or some are staying? Okay, then just wait 1 minute. Shraddha Devi Dasi has to make a few announcements.
Okay, nobody get angry with me, please. I'm sorry. Everybody always gets angry with me. I get abused, and people don't appreciate me enough. It's really hard. You may know Rodney Dangerfield. That's more from some of the older devotees' background. He always said, "I get no respect." That was his thing. So if anybody needs to go, please go, no problem. We're just talking about the most esoteric, amazing thing in the whole universe that you've never heard before. But don't feel uncomfortable. It's okay. You can go. So this Shayana Vigraha, this deity who sleeps, is considered to be Ardha Lakshmi Ishvara. It's half the feminine aspect of Lord and half the male aspect.
I can make no. Prabhu was speaking. Okay. Yeah, so the names that I have over here are Adi Krishnanath, you're going at a risk. Premai Radha and the family. Shankari Kaur. You're not going, Prabhu, right? Anutama Prabhu, you're not going? Anutama Prabhu? You're not going, right? Okay, and then Anuradha, Anuradha Thatti Reddy, Nitya Tarangini and daughter Geeta Priya, and Purata Sundar Das and the family, Ankit Somani and the family, Pyari Charan, you're going there as a seva responsibility there. Raghav Acharya and family, I think they already left here. Krishna Dave, you and your mom are leaving as well. Mukharvinda and family. Then Vrindavan Vinodini and her family. Then I think Manjari Gopika, you and Kishori. That's all that I have a list. And I also wanted, since I will also be leaving there to go to the Jagannath temple, I just wanted to make a small announcement here that in preparation for the wedding anniversary, 25th wedding anniversary of Valimardhan Prabhu and Ananda Vrindavan Mataji, they have sponsored the Jagannath Prasadam today. It's a special one, it's from a different place. It'll arrive here around 6 o'clock, so please do honor them, and please save some for us who are going to go for the temple. Yeah, and I will post all the other announcements that I would have normally made. I'll post them on our WhatsApp group, so you'll know about that. But I don't want to interrupt the Katha mode. Sorry about that.
Shad is so amazing, isn't she? Some years ago, I was watching her, and I told her, I said, you know, you should make a book about how to like organize a yatra, because she's so amazing. Thank you very much, Shad. So I'll just finish up with a couple of quick little things. The Shayana Vigraha. This deity, which very few people know about, is the deity who sleeps, and that's the deity. He's only about 4 inches high, he, she. And that deity is a deity they put to rest every night, because Lord Jagannath's about 7 feet high and takes about 30 people to carry him. It's kind of hard to put him to sleep in a bed. So the Shayana Vigraha is there, and that deity is put to rest every night. Now that deity, as I mentioned, is Ardhanari Ishvara. Is half Lakshmi, or half the feminine aspect of the Lord, and half the male aspect. The deity is made out of gold, solid gold. Now who do we know who's very golden? Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, is Radharani. So if we consider from this perspective that just as just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, he's a combined form of Radha and Krishna. And my Guru Maharaj said that Mahaprabhu is Krishna Viraha Vidura Roop. He is the embodiment of separation from Krishna. If the last limit of separation from Krishna can manifest a form, that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Jagannath is Radha Viraha Vidura Roop. He's Mahabhav Prakash. He's Madhurja Rasa Ganayati Murti. You may not have heard that expression, something my Guru Maharaj used. He's a condensed form of conjugal mellow. He's the embodiment of separation from Radha. And just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combined form of Radha and Krishna, but Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Surupam, he's Krishna Surup, but on the outside is Radha Bhav, the mood of Radha and the complexion of Radha. Jagannath is the opposite. Jagannath is in the mood of separation. He's Krishna in the mood of separation from Radharani. Radharani's in the heart. On the outside he's black, but on the inside is Radharani. As the Jagannath Astakam describes, Rasanandi Radha Sadasa Vapura Lingana Sukha. He's always embracing Radharani very closely to his chest. Other indications about Radharani in Sri Ketra, without going into some of the verses and things, you'll find in a book called Bhakti Ratnakar, written by Narahari Chakravarti Thakur. That book is a wonderful book, published by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bengali book written by Narahari Chakravarti Thakur. And in there he explains, historically, that the first deities of Radha worshipped in Braj, I'm speaking in a secular historical kind of way, not in terms of Leela, but the first deities of Radha worshipped historically in Braj came from Orissa. They were sent there by Maharaj Purushottam Jana, the son of Maharaj Prataparudra. And he sent the deities of Radha to Gopinath and to Govindadev. And then Gopinath kind of pulled a fast one. He came in a dream to the Pujari and said, actually, one of the deities is Alita. You should give both of them to me. And so Gopinath ended up with both of them. And then the word got back to Puri that it didn't work, and Govinda Dev still doesn't have a Radha deity with him. And Maharaj Purushottam Jana was feeling very sad. And then Radharani came to him in a dream and told him that there's a place called Javat, right? No, Brishabhanupur, near to Kathak. Kathak is the former capital of Orissa. And there's a Brahmin there named Brishabhanu, appropriately. And he had a daughter whose name was Radha. And he later made a deity of her, was worshipping Radharani. And that deity later came to the Jagannath Mandir and was now being worshipped inside the temple. But everybody thinks she's Lakshmi Devi. But that deity speaking to Maharaj Purushottam Jana, actually I'm Radharani, and I'd like to go be with Govinda. And so that's the story, very briefly, of the first deity of Govindaji. So this is a special quality of this place. This is why at Dandabanga, on the outskirts of Puri, it's described in the Purusha Bodhini Shruti of the Atharva Veda, Yata Bhargavi Jamuna Gobadana Ratna Samasana Bimala Sadosa Chandika Sadosa Gopyaha. That here in this place, you'll find three things. The Bhargavi is non-different from the Jamuna. The forest in Puri is non-different from the forest of Vrindavan. And the Ratna Singhasan, the throne that Lord Jagannath sits on, as well as Chatak Parvat, is non-different from Govardhan Hill. These three things are found here, but they're found in a hidden kind of way. And therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he once said that this place is Vipralamba Ketra. You may say Chaitra, depending on your pronunciation. We say Ketra here. Vipralamba Ketra, the place of separation. And it's a chamber of Vrindavan. We see that this is the Jagannath Puri University of Braj Prem, the school that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened to teach us how to do bhajan to attain Vrindavan. And what is the mood of that bhajan? And the mood of that bhajan here in this place we see with Swarup Damodar, with Roy Ramananda. We see with Gadadhar Pandit, who's reading the Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu. They're all doing bhajan, but it's not for their pleasure. This is the highest thing. And this is the kirtan of our sampradaya. Krishna is trying to repay his debt to Radharani, but he doesn't have the wealth. So he has to go to someone who has a lot of money. And that's Lalita and Vishaka. And they're doing kirtan, but the debt still it's still greater because Radharani's love is unlimited. So then Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, they engage their followers, Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, in that kirtan. And what do? They engage their followers, who engage their followers, who engage their followers, who engage Gorgashodas Das Babaji, who engages Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who engages our Srila Prabhupada, who's engaged all the devotees in this movement. And we're doing this kirtan, the kirtan of our sampradaya. It's a very amazing kirtan. It's a kirtan that's not done for my own pleasure. It's not to get a wife or get money. It's not to get liberation. It's not to make spiritual advancement. It's just for the pleasure of Krishna. It's an amazing thing. Sometimes devotees, they ask, what is this Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyai? Srila Rameshwar Prabhu asked that to Srila Prabhupada in Hawaii. Prabhupada replied that means book distribution. Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyai. That's the mood of this movement. You may say, oh, Prabhu, that's just like basic stuff. I want to go on to Govinda Lilamrita and some higher things. But if you go to those higher things, you find it's the same so-called basic stuff that we have of going out and doing Harinam Sankirtan for 8 or 10 hours a day, for going out and doing book distribution, doing bhajan, not for myself, but for the pleasure of the Lord. And doing that bhajan following some person. And that's why we're all here. Because we want to be anubhav of certain Vaishnavas. That's what our purpose is in coming on yatra. That's the meaning of yatra. And I didn't explain this thing. I mentioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote 2 articles, Navadip Mandal Parikrama and Braj Mandal Parikrama. And in those articles I said, he doesn't speak about any places. What does he say there? He says, don't go there just for a t-shirt. He said, you should go there. Don't go there for taking pictures. He said, you should just go there and look at the face of your Gurudev. Don't try to see the deities. Don't try to see the places. I can't see. There's a lot of trash and it smells bad. That's all that I see. But if I go with sadhu, if I go with Gurudev, and I look to their face, what are they seeing? That's being Anubhav. And that's real Braj Mandal Parikrama, real Navadvip Mandal Parikrama, real Sri Kshetra Parikrama, like we have here. So thank you all very much. I'm sorry for causing trouble. Hare Krishna. All of you are teaching me, and I came here because I wanted to learn from all of you, because you're all Anubhav, and I want some of that bhav. I'm also a thief. But I'm learning how we should reciprocate with devotees, even when they're clumsy and they're useless, how we should fan the spark. So it's a very beautiful thing. Thank you for encouraging me. Vaisheshika Prabhu, do we have time? Do you want to add anything? Correct me of anything? Do we have time for a discussion? Or no, it's okay, we don't.
You want to cause more trouble? It was a constant stream of nectar.
There's a here's not,
Constant stream of nectar.
constant.
The perspective of how this is the university for Vraj Prem is extremely useful in understanding everything you said, making context for it. The 4 most confidential devotees, that was ear-catching. And also the ways in which the scholars and others who are attending these conferences are pricking up their ears to hear what your institute is doing, going more deeply into the Shastra, because you're Anubhav of your spiritual master, who brought a special fragrance to the world for this deep immersion in Jagannath Puri and what its real meaning is of this Dham. And it's unlimitedly helpful, what you're doing, the research and carrying on the kata about bringing the attention back to Jagannath Puri. People are vaguely aware generally about Rath Yatra, what it is. Most people think it's more of a preaching festival than it is, which is what you were saying also, is a kind of Anubhav, following Srila Prabhupada's preaching. But the Prabhupada used to say it's a feeling festival. This is a very feeling festival. And he'd go on to explain some of these details. But really getting into the history and the details of it to understand what an exclusively important Dham it is enlivening. Those are a few thoughts.
I really feel that you're coming here. I just love the spirit you come with, because you're open. You're coming with your university, and these are all students here, and everybody's reciting verses, and you're studying things, and you have that spirit that not just I'm coming here to look at things and well that's nice and eat something nice, but we're coming here to do service, and we're coming here to try to enter into the spirit of this place. I'm so grateful for that, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. Prabhuji?
Thank you. I was just wondering is there places where you've recorded this and we can read in hearing it the first time. Usually for me, I have to hear something 2 or 3 times before it really sinks in. I don't know. So is there a place we can read?
Yeah, I've
to
got a
study
lot
this
of
kind?
lectures on ISKCON Desire Tree
Yeah,
and a few other YouTube. a couple of things, Madhavananda, they're on these same subjects. I want to write more about it.
Yeah.
And I've been told Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj is working with us and a number of different scholarly devotees, and they've really encouraged me, not just myself, but the devotees working with our project, that we should really focus on the special gifts that we have, and not just because so many research institutes in Puri, and they're studying about Jagannath history and culture, and it's nice, it's a good thing, and some of them even study about the history of Mahaprabhu here. But what is the bhav? What is the mood of Mahaprabhu and his associates here? And that's a very extraordinary thing which devotees don't consider. And this is the Goswami Vichar. We see so much Smarta Vichar today. Sometimes even in our own movement, we see that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please bless me. Hare Krishna. Anybody else with anything, Prabhu? Oh, there's a few hands. Who's first? Not you, him.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this power-packed session. And, I'm on my first step of this, so it was really heavy. And I feel like I'll be definitely going through this YouTube recording. As and when I get next opportunity, I want to understand and learn more. A lot of things, like I was trying to write down and I was not able to even write down, so I wanted to just check with you one point about the 4 intimate associates. I could write down about Ramananda Rao, and you explained also. Even Swarup Damodar you also explained. And Madhavi Devi also you explained.
But
I could not understand Sikhi Mahati.
I want to understand Sikhi Mahiti too. All that I know about Sikhi Mahiti, there's a few stories about him and Jagannath and Mahaprabhu, but we know that he's the cousin of Ramananda Roy. He's the brother of Madhavi Devi. And we know that those two personalities were completely absorbed in the worship of Radha Krishna. Madhavi Devi is worshiping Radha Gopinath. We see from her songs are all about Radharani and that. So this is my theory. Why those 4 are so important is because those 4, Mahaprabhu was hearing or getting a concept about Radharani from them. But Sikhi Mahiti is my weak spot. I don't know much about him, to confess.
Thank you so much, brother. This is amazing. I feel like why I came here is fulfilled. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. You know, it's not a common thing to be able to come here to this Dham, as we mentioned, and to be able to come in such a mood to do book distribution and to give something to the Dham. It's just off the charts. I can't even imagine what kind of stuff you guys are getting. That's really Gopi Bhav. If you want to put it in language, it's really amazing, amazing. Rasnanda Prabhu? Nice to see you again, Prabhuji. Mataji, he's being good? Just checking.
I'm trying. I'm hoping that this is not taking the mood of the discussion tangentially, but something that has
Speak in the mic, my hearing's not
Sorry,
good.
I was just saying that I'm hoping that this does not take the mood of the conversation tangentially, but I was always bothered by how Vrindavan Das Thakur speaks about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and how Kaviraj Goswami speaks about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for years.
Okay.
And you touched on it.
Yeah, it's my fault. So I once asked our Fakir Mohan Prabhu about it. My grandma said that Fakir Mohan Prabhu, and it's a long discussion about him. He's born in a Gaudiya Vaishnava family, on Janmashtami at midnight. Quite an amazing personality. He's a childhood friend of my Guru Maharaj. He was a professor at Utkal University, and his name, Fakir Mohan, is also an interesting story, but it's another thing. Anyway, I asked him, my grandma said he knew more about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu than anyone on the planet. And I said, so how do we understand? Vrindavan Das Thakur says Sarvabhauma was a devotee, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that he was a Mayavadi before he met. How do we understand that? And he gave such an answer I found very satisfying. He said when they wrote these books, they didn't do so on the basis of research, mundane research, analytical research, but they wrote them on the basis of Lila Spurti. In Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat, he says, Jai Rupa Chinche Dasi Se Rupa Hoy. According to the mood of the devotee, the Lord manifests accordingly. they'll see a certain thing. And so Vrindavandas Thakur's mood is a little different than that of Kaviraj Goswami, and he saw things a little differently. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes about this in some of his articles in Sajjanatoshini, and he says that he uses a phrase which is becoming very popular. It's kind of like, it's a pastime, Prabhu. It's, you know, what devotees just say. It's Kalpa Beda. Kalpa Beda means that the pastime is different in different kalpas. And he uses that many times for Gaura Leela. That's pretty far out, because Mahaprabhu only comes once in a Dibya Yuga. It's like a long time. But in other yugas, he's saying that the pastimes sometimes happen a little differently. I appreciated that, although empirically it's hard to understand. But I appreciated that because I could understand that my approach to Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat should not be an empirical approach. But it should be, I should be approaching the authors of those books in a mood of submission and humility, that they may bless me to see and understand something. And it's not that Kaviraj Goswami came to Orissa and spent 2 weeks going around interviewing people and before he wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's no record that he ever came to Orissa. He heard from Raghunath Das Goswami. But more than that, he heard in his heart. And that's our Gaudiya Vaishnava system. So that's the only thing I can comment. Do you want to add anything to that?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is it okay if she says something now?
She always says before me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for a master class, actually, I felt. And there were so many incredible jewels that I pray will actually go very deep, and that one day, I hope by your blessings and the blessings of all the devotees, I can realize. But the thing that struck out for me was your emphasis on the bhajan of Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, and how that should be, I think, if we follow properly in their footsteps, that should be our bhajan too, that their goal is actually to just simply please Mahaprabhu. And I was wondering, I'm so fallen. This is so far away that I mean, you gave some hints of anubhav and following in our spiritual master's footsteps. And even in spite of that, when there's so much dirt in the heart, how can we get even close to that stage of just for Mahaprabhu?
We may ask a question. Why do we chant Hare Krishna? Well, they told me to. I don't know. When I'm chanting my japa, I'm going to be honest, it's not that Krishna's doing Ras Leela with the gopis and all of a sudden he stops and Radharani says, what is it? And Krishna says, oh, Madhavananda's chanting his japa. My japa is not like that. So why do I chant japa? Why do I do this bhajan? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Tati Krishna bhaji kori guru sevan. That my Krishna bhajan is my guru seva. In Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami says we should act in such a way to melt the heart of an advanced Vaishnava. And that's when bhakti comes. So how do we melt their heart? I can do kirtan trying to please Rasananda Prabhu. Jaya Rasananda Prabhu, you know. But probably he's not going to be very enthusiastic about that. But if I start chanting Hare Krishna to please him, tears may come to his eyes. He may really appreciate, they're chanting heart. That's close to his heart. So even though I'm the most fallen creature in the world, still I'm being engaged in this way. It's inconceivable. The kirtan of our sampradaya, Radharani's love for Krishna is unlimited. Krishna has a debt to repay. That's an unlimited debt. So how can he repay it? The whole universe has to take part. And that includes us. And it's inconceivable that we're chanting, assisting Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Rupa Goswami, Swarup Damodar, Roy Ramananda. We're assisting Krishna in trying to understand Radharani's mood. Wow, I can be part of that. And even if we're unconscious of it, and most of us who are going out for book distribution or Harinam, maybe we're not thinking about Radharani and the gopis, whatever like that. But still, we're contributing to that. But better if we can understand a very, very deep mood in this thing. And that Srila Prabhupada, what he gave is such an inconceivable thing. Devotees speak a lot about, I don't even like to use the word because we get in trouble, but about Raganuga Bhakti. I said it, okay. What is Raganuga Bhakti? If you read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that it's bhav, it's a mood. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, he says that actually the activities done in Raganuga Bhakti are the same as in Vaidhi Bhakti. The only difference is the mood that you're doing them in. But he does give a caveat. He says that Raganuga Bhakti means worshiping Krishna in Braj. Radha Krishna means reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the works of the Goswamis like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction. Means reading Srimad Bhagavatam, means hearing the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna book, means worshiping Tulsi, doing all the things that Srila Prabhupada gave us. And not putting more stress on rules and regulations, but putting more stress on the mood. That's Raganuga Bhakti. And so before devotees think, oh, I got to go somewhere else and start chanting 3 lakhs a day, or live at Radhakund and read some books and try to sit down and meditate on what Radha and Krishna are doing right now. And I see Radharani, and then Mother Yashoda comes in and wearing a mini skirt on a skateboard, and who knows what kind of things, speculations our mind comes up with. We just serve. We're anugatya. We're serving our Gurudev and by following the mood of the gopis, which is Nikunja Yunarati Keli Sijay, which is book distribution and preaching. Wow, what an amazing thing. Srila Prabhupada really gave everything. And so we may be super fallen. I definitely am. But there's hope. And I'm excited. It's good stuff. I can't think of a better deal, a better place to go. Is that helpful? Thank you. So you have something, Mataji? Speak in the mic and a little loud. My hearing's not so good.
Haribol. Thank you for the really beautiful class. I have a question about Gita Govindam by Jayadev Goswami. So this bhajan starts with Radha Nam, and could you please talk a bit about the significance of this bhajan and how it relates to Jagannath Ji? Because I've heard that this song is sung to him as nighttime lullaby, and I wonder if that's actually true.
Can someone translate for her? My hearing is really not good. You can just speak loud. I might.
She's just asking about the Gita Govinda and its connection to Lord Jagannath.
Oh. So if you go in the Jagannath Mandir, I think you have gone already, there's a plaque on the wall which they say historically was put there by Maharaj Prataparudra, the king at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great devotee of Mahaprabhu. And it says here that Jagannath is Gita Govinda Thakur, that he's the deity of the Gita Govinda. And that's a very special thing because Gita Govinda is a very, very rustic book, a book which generally our acharyas discouraged sadhaks to read unless they were on a very advanced platform. It's all very intimate Radha Krishna, except for the beginning, the prayers to the 10 different incarnations. It's a very, very elevated book. But that book is about Jagannath. And there's many different stories about Jagannath and Gita Govinda. We wrote some article, actually my wife wrote an article about Gita Govinda and Jagannath. Gosh, there's so many. To give one, there's one king later, I can't remember his name quite off, Abhinan something beginning. And he wrote his own Gita Govinda. He thought, who is this Jayadev? I'll write my own book. And there was some controversy. Should we, because he said we should recite my book in front of Jagannath, not Jayadev Goswami's. So they decided how we're going to tell which one is really appreciated by Jagannath. So that night, before they put Jagannath to rest, they put both books in front of Jagannath, let Jagannath decide. And they came back the next morning, and that king's book, the pages were strewn all over the altar, everywhere, and the Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami was pressed to Lord Jagannath's chest. So Gita Govinda is very intimately connected with Lord Jagannath in so many ways. He dresses himself in it. They sing it. There's a tradition that they sing Gita Govinda for Lord Jagannath every night. And they do dance of Gita Govinda. And that Gita Govinda is something of Mahaprabhu also. And Jayadev Goswami. Is that helpful? This is touching on a little bit. There's also some Oriya commentaries in Gita Govinda which are quite amazing. It's a very, very special literature. Okay, anybody else with anything? Should we, you have something? Can you pass it to her? Speak real into the mic and speak really loud, okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for nice explanation about Radharani in Jagannath Puri. We had the Badasinghar Vesa Darshan 2 days back. Like we saw that how they're dressing him as Krishna with all the flowers and everything at night. So how about Subhadra? Like Balaram has also gopis, he does rasa dance, but how about Subhadra? I was thinking about.
Okay, you help me.
So if we understand Lord Jagannath is Govinda and Baladev also is Balaram in Braj, what about Subhadra Devi?
Very good question. So Subhadra is controversial. Hare Krishna devotees like controversy, so that's a cool thing. So Subhadra, she's Yogamaya, which means that that's her signature quality. She's mysterious by nature. Now we know from the writings we're from the Bhagavatam, and the writings of Srila Jiva Goswami, especially in Gopal Champu and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Sarta Darshani, that Subhadra is Krishna's twin sister. And the Bhagavatam describes that when Vasudeva brought Vasudeva across to Nandagaon, on the bed, he only saw Yogamaya. And according to Jiva Goswami, he put Vasudeva Krishna down on the bed, and that Vasudeva Krishna entered into the body of Nandanandan Krishna. And for 16 full years, some say more or less, 16 full years, that Vasudeva Krishna was in the body of that original form of Krishna is Nandanandan Krishna. So then Subhadra, very little is said. You can ask Subhadra about her. She's the one who should say something. You don't know anything, but you should. Your name's Subhadra. Come on. That's cheating. So in the, some people say that no, she's the daughter of Vasudeva and Devaki. Okay, that's a fact, because Vasudeva brought her over to the prison of Kamsa, and she became known as the daughter of Vasudeva and Devaki. But according to the Bhagavatam and Jiva Goswami, she's Krishna's sister. And we know that when she came over to Kamsa's prison, that she manifested a different form. And she chastised Kamsa, "You're a nonsense rascal," and she manifested the form of Bhadrakali. And then she disappeared. And where did she go? According to the Harivamsa Purana, she went to the Vindhya Mountains in South India. And what did she do there? I don't know where she was staying. If she had a villa or someplace she was, I don't really know. But she killed some demon. There's a story about her, how she killed a demon. And then her story is just kind of lost until we hear about her in the Bhagavatam, that Arjuna fell in love with Subhadra. And Krishna made some arrangement for them to marry, and it was a whole drama. So we know that. Another thing that we know about Subhadra, we can find in Skanda Purana, and that's a very difficult thing to digest. It's said there that Subhadra sometimes manifests as Lakshmi. Now, you may get a stomach ache from that one, especially because Lord Jagannath has his consorts on the altar of Shri and Bu, and Shri is Lakshmi Devi. So how is Subhadra like? Because in the Skanda Purana, and also in Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Sanatana Goswami, it's described that Lord Jagannath is avatari. He's the source of all incarnations. And as we just mentioned to Rasananda Prabhu a minute ago, Jai Rupa Chinche Dasi Se Rupa Hoy. According to the mood of the devotee, the Lord manifests a corresponding form. And that's the nature of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. And so much so that when Tulsidas, the famous author of Ramcharitmanas, which Prabhupada said is the best book in the Hindi language, and he's a pure devotee, when Tulsidas came to Orissa, came to Puri, there's two villages we know where he did his bhajan, he stayed, and there's some ancient deity there of Hanuman that he worshipped. When he came before Lord Jagannath, suddenly Jagannath disappeared. And he saw Ram, Lakshman, and Sita. And Subhadra manifested as Sita. So Subhadra is Yogamaya. She's a very mysterious person. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that she's Kula Devi. She's the Devi of our Vaishnav Kula. And we pray to her to remove Maya. But she will manifest forms according to the devotee's desire. Just like when the Ganapatni Brahman came from South India, and he came before Lord Jagannath and he said, "What is this? I was told that you're part of Brahma, that you're the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is my Devata Ganesh. And I don't see you as..." And then Lord Jagannath, this happens at Snan Yatra, he manifested the form of Hativesh. He dressed like an elephant, like Ganesh. And they dress Jagannath every year in that dress after Snan Yatra. Now, some of our friends have had some discussions with some scholars in the Sri Sampradaya. They don't appreciate that. Because how can the Lord manifest a form of a Devata? We don't appreciate that thing. But we understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did like that. Sometimes he manifested the form of Lord Shiva, the mood of Lord Shiva, when he was in Navadvip. Sometimes he manifested the mood of Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj or different devotees, because they were his devotees and he wanted to taste that mood. So Lord Jagannath does a similar thing. He's avatari. So Subhadra is understood in different ways. And I would really like to do more research about this. It's probably the most oft asked question we get in relationship to Puri and Jagannath. There's some places in Orissa connected with her. I'd like to research that. But my thesis in the beginning is that her constitutional position is she's mysterious. That's her whole thing. Is that okay, Subhadra? No complaints? You want to add anything? Okay. If you have any more realizations, you should tell everybody. So Vaishesha, should we stop here? Okay. So thank you all very much. Really, I learned a lot from all of you today, how I should behave with Vaishnavas and how we should appreciate them and encourage them. Thank you all very, very much. Srila Prabhupada Ke, Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ke, Go Premanande, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Champatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nandakori Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
Madhavananda Prabhu, thank you very much for taking time, even though you're getting ready to go to Europe and many other things going on, to stop in. I don't know how our pilgrimage to Puri could be fulfilled without having your association. And we're deeply grateful.
I don't know what kind of sukriti it takes for somebody to come to Puri, but I can see this for sure, that it requires millions of times more sukriti to get sangha with devotees like this. It's a very special thing for me, and I'm very eager for that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Please give our best to your illustrious wife. Tell her we miss her here in Puri. Hare Krishna.
I think they're making some video. We'll give a link to her or something. She'll watch that and she'll hear that. So she'll be happy.
Krishna Kun Devi Ki. Gaur Premanande Harivo. Hare Krishna. One more time, please. Sharira Vijajam Chodendriya Taikam Chive Bele Vishasha